So for my topic, I chose to abolish the Electoral College, or are you for abolishing the Electoral College? And abolishment is formally putting an end to this malapportionment, which is the creation of electoral districts with divergent ratios of voters to representatives. When the Electoral College was first implemented in the United States, it gave those who owned slaves more power, more voting power, along with the 3/5 law, because they got to count each one of their slaves as 3/5 a person. So they got more votes per their one vote. It was originally designed to give the less populated southern states an equal share or an equal say than the northern, more populated states, but it actually gave them more of a say because the candidate who won most likely had their southern values and interests when they were elected to presidency. And even after the abolishment of slavery, when African Americans were finally considered a whole person or citizens of the United States, the scales were still tipped in the favor of the same group who held power, who always held power, which I will go into the details a little bit later in this argument. My first contention is that the Electoral College is just an old, outdated voting system. It needs to be amended. It doesn't work in our modern society. It doesn't represent our people. The Electoral College mainly benefits the white male power holders in the United States. It doesn't represent everybody. The collapse of Reconstruction in the South, along with the disenfranchisement of African Americans, kept the power in this same group of people, even after the abolishment of slavery. And that's according to a New York Times article from 2020. Up until the Voting Rights Act of 1965, states can make many of their own laws, and they made it very hard or even almost impossible for people of color to vote. They taxed them. They made ridiculous, immoral laws, and they just made it really hard for anybody who wasn't a white male to vote. And you can find all the details in Anthony Lazzarino's article, The Founding Fathers of Slavery, on the Encyclopedia Britannica website. It really goes into how they were discriminated against and all the things that kept the voting power within the same group of people. This is why I propose the winner of the election should win through popular vote. This would more accurately represent our population and the wishes of the United States people. The amount of electors a state has depends on the population of the state, not how many voters are in the state, first of all. So people who are actually putting forth their say and who have actually taken the time to decide who they want to represent them, that doesn't matter. They're just counting everybody in the state. So altogether, there are 538 electors in the United States. That means that whichever candidate wins that state, they get all of the electors from that state. So that's why Texas, California, New York, they are always wanting to win the states. Florida, you always hear about them wanting to win certain states. So the winner of the popular vote can still lose the election if they win more than 270 of the electoral votes. And if you go on USA.gov, it'll really break it down how the Electoral College and the whole voting system works. However, the ramifications of oppression and segregation ensure that those electors do not represent many of America's people. According to the New York Times, March 17, 2020, it gives the states no incentive to enfranchise new groups of people or to make voting easier for those eligible. Along with people of color, women are not fully represented through the nation. Over half the women, 55%, who are eligible to vote in the 2018 midterms did so over 41.8% of men, according to the Pew Research Center. So they're just not representing who's voting. And this is my argument for why we should abolish the Electoral College.